Alright, let's do a bouncing ball animation. I've got a new 2D animation set up inside of a grease pencil, inside a blender. I'm using my trackpad here to zoom out just a bit, and I've gone too far, and well, not too far, but I've gone off axis. So I hit the camera button over here to toggle the camera view. I like to be able to see the whole canvas here. I'm also going to pull this up just a little bit from down here so I can add another layer here. I'm going to add two layers actually. I want a ground layer, and then I'd like also, I think, a sketch layer, just so I can plan my animation just a little bit. So let's start with, I'm going to put the ground, select the ground, and then arrow it down to the bottom, and the sketch I'm actually going to arrow down to just above the ground. Alright, so let's start with the ground. I'm going to choose the ink pen, solid stroke. It's going by materials. I believe the materials, well, here we can look at the materials. Solid stroke, that's going to be base color black. I'm going to get rid of this squared stroke and the dot stroke, just in case I need more materials as we go. So I've got drawing line. I'm going to just do a black line, but instead of just a ground plane all the way across, let's do like a cliff or something that the ball could bounce off of. Right, so there's our ground plane, or a ground line, and then in the sketch, and I'm going to choose a new color here. So I'm going to add a sketch color. I'm going to even call it sketch so I can keep track of it. I always usually like to sketch in blue, so I'm going to give this a blue color line. I'm going to make it not quite so dark, choose something in this range, and then we'll come over here, and I know my ball is going to be here. I'm not going to, I guess I'll go ahead and sketch my ball too. I would like to make that still a little bit lighter, I feel like. Alright, there we go. So my ball's going to start somewhere here. It'll squish down to anticipate a little bit, and then it's going to do a quick leap, fall, bounce up, bounce a little bit less, till it moves off screen. At least that's my plan. Alright, so I've got that, which is nice. I can turn off a couple things down here. I'm going to turn off, I don't need to onion skin the ground. I don't need to onion skin my sketch. I'm not going to worry about my fills just yet. But I am going to leave my lines onion skinned, and I'm going to move to my lines layer. So I'm at the lines. I want to make sure I'm using my solid stroke, so it's a black outline. We're in frame 1. I'll leave the total frames there, and we'll see how many frames we actually need as we start to animate. Alright, so let's start with a ball. Use my reference here, I guess. Alright, it's like a nice ball. Use the arrow key to go over a frame. I'm going to have it anticipate a little bit by virtue of, boy, I like that. I guess it's alright. I was just trying to decide if I like my my ground, my sketch texture so opaque. What if I did? So you can just adjust the transparency of your layers right here, which is kind of nice. All right, back up to lines. We're on frame 2. We're gonna squash a little bit. Should point out that I have auto keys on, which is why it just did what it did. All right, there's the auto keys button down there, and as soon as I started drawing on the next frame, it replaced it. I'm gonna go one more frame. Going with lots of lines around for some reason this morning, but there we are. All right, so the ball squishes. And then we'll have it stretch back up. I'm going to have it lean into this a little bit too. I'm going to lose, oops, not that much. Right there, that little tail thing that I did up. Thinking about that before. I'm going to go ahead and lock sketch in the ground so that way that doesn't become a problem again. Yeah, it's still too much. Alright, back to the pen. Excuse me, the brush, I guess, technically. Brush, ink pen. Alright, where are we at? Frame 4. So we're to frame 5. Again, we're going to stretch a little bit more just for fun. And then we're going to start to return to the normal shape. As we get up here to the peak, make sure it's about the same volume as that first frame. So you got a little bit bigger there. That's alright. We are just working through the motions to sketch this morning. We'll work on more polished animations maybe later. Ooh, I'd like to, alright, so I'd like that to be up a little bit, over a little bit. Also, I should adjust the number of onion skins showing. So let's do a couple things. I'll get the onion skin showing. So I'm going to go over here to, I believe, data, onion skinning, and I'm going to up it to about 5 in front and 5 behind so I can see a little bit more what's happening. And what I was just saying is I feel like I'd like that to be up and over to the right a little bit. So we're going to go from draw to edit mode. And we're going to select this and move it over and up a little bit. Think like that. Alright, and then back to draw mode. Alright, so now I feel like I can move down. I'm gotta move over a frame first, frame 9. Alright, so now I'm gonna bring it down and to the right just a little bit. We're gonna start to really pick up speed here. Gonna get some stretch going. One more frame of serious stretch. Even making sound effects there. And then into serious squash. I think I'm going to try one extra squash frame just for fun. So it feels like it hits that well enough. And then I'm going to start to stretch back up. And then some serious stretch here. And then we're going to start to renormalize the shape a bit. Also start to slow the movement down a bit. It's the crest of this arc. And starting to stretch a little bit as it moves down. Stretch again. Not going to go quite as extreme with this one since the movement's starting to slow a little bit. Erase the inside of that. Yeah, so I'm going to have to redraw it anyway a bit. Again, arrow key. I'm going to squash it. I'm going to do one extra squash frame. See how I like this. I usually don't do that frame, but I feel like it needs a little extra something there maybe. And then stretching up the other direction for this last arc here. Well, it's not quite last, but the next one. Slowing down, returning to shape. Cresting. A little bit of stretch over here. A little bit of squash down here. I'm going to go ahead and just move straight up into the next frame. And I guess we'll get one more in here. And then I'm going to do one blank. I guess we don't have to do a blank. We'll just make it, let's see, we're at 35. So let's make our animation 40 frames. What happened here? I'm concerned about that. Did I get a frame on the wrong layer there? I tried deleting that keyframe and I think we're okay. Oh, I need to do one more. I'm going to insert make sure on the lines layer. We'll just do it off screen. And there's no issue. What I was thinking though is it might be nice to grab all of these frames, slide them over just a little bit. I guess we're going to move this up to like 50 frames. And I was thinking at the beginning here, instead of starting on screen, what if we had our ball start off screen just a little bit, move a frame, move a frame. All right, and technically we could go ahead and do a tween for this, and we'll get into that, but this is, I think, kind of just a good way to warm up to it and give it a little bit of movement here. So it looks like I can take those and move them all over to there. Alright, I'm going to turn off onion skin. I'm going to hide my sketch layers. I don't think I even need that anymore. Rewind. Press, I'm going to take it down to, say, 50 frames. And then let's see how we did. Where's our ground? There we go. Alright. Pretty nice. I'm going to come over here to output and change it to, say, 12 frames since I'm not drawing that many frames. A little easier to see what's happening. Not too bad. Alright, so we'll park this one there and follow up with a fills and rendering.